The leaders of the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers were freed following the pardons yesterday. At the time, back in 2021, you urged them to stand back and stand by. Is there now a place for them in the political conversation?
Well, we have to say they've been given a pardon. I thought...
Oh, my God. Oh, my God. This journalist basically is like, hey, are you going to utilize the Proud Boys to do your... to do your most violent bidding? And he's like, we'll see. We'll see.
Their sentences were ridiculous and excessive.
We'll have to see. Today, Tarrio spoke to Alex Jones and told him, quote, the people who did this, they need to feel the heat, they need to be put behind bars, and they need to be prosecuted. More now on all this from CNN's Donny O'Sullivan, who was outside the D.C. jail last night when all this went down and spoke today with some of the pardoned inmates.
You're a true patriot.
I don't even know what to feel. I mean, I guess I should feel joy. Maybe I'm just shocked.
The end of a long road for Rachel Powell, pardoned by President Trump and released Tuesday from a jail here in Washington, D.C.
Patriots are in control.
The pink hat
Patriots
lady
are
when
in control. They're
breaking
rising up. Patriots,
a window
rise
at
up.
the Capitol with an ice axe during the January 6 attack. A mom to 8 and a grandmother to 7, I interviewed Rachel before she began what was supposed to be a years-long prison sentence last year.
How'd I have time to plan an insurrection when my life is busy like this?
On her release on Tuesday, she was met by activists who gave her new clothes, new boots, and a new pink hat.
Woo! Glory! Hallelujah! Thank you, Lord! This man came from the Philadelphia jail. He got out at 3 a.m. That doesn't make sense. He's wearing prison shoes and Philadelphia's finest prison gear.
Pardoned January 6ers from elsewhere began arriving in Washington, like William Patrick Sarsfield III, who was convicted of a felony offense of obstruction of law enforcement during a civil disorder.
Well, I was heard through different apps and different programs and different phone calls from people that we still had brothers and sisters that were still locked up and haven't been released. And being somebody that's been in D.C., that everybody should be released. If it's a pardon for J6ers, it's for all of us.
You got out of prison last night?
Well, I was locked up for 3.5 years, and I was taken to the halfway house on August 29th.
Robert Morse says he was released from a halfway house in Pittsburgh late last night and came to D.C. to celebrate.
Back up!
Morse, a former Army Ranger, was found guilty of assaulting police officers, among other crimes, on January 6.
I had no intention of going anywhere near the Capitol that day. That's how crazy this got. So a lot of people were taken advantage of, and we were lured into a lobster trap that January 6th was designed to be.
In terms of personal responsibility, do you regret?
Completely, without a doubt. I said that in my sentencing speech. I said the words, Donald Trump did not force me or coerce me to do what I did that day. I did it on my own accord.
What's your message to people watching this who say, she shouldn't have been pardoned, none of these people should have got out of prison, they're criminals?
Okay, you know what? It's time to stop worrying about that. And
Dude, that's the peak, okay? That's the most awesome way to be, to just be like, you don't understand, okay? No matter what, I will go to jail on my own. Please do not harm my president, who said I was bad right after it became politically unpopular. Like, dude, being that cucked is crazy. No, I'm not going to go back. There's no obligatory go back. You know, there's no go back policies here, okay? He called it a lobster trap and then proceeded to say how he fell for the lobster trap. Yeah. Attacking the seat. Yeah. Here's the latest standing. Attacking the seat of the U.S. government, beating the shit out of cops, saying you're going to arrest and possibly hang the Republican vice president of the party that you are a supporter of is peaceful. 18-year-olds camping and playing guitar on their own university campus. Worse terror attack than 9/11. They're all Hamas. They're all actually being brainwashed by the Iranian mullahs. Okay, the Ayatollah is basically on college campuses, and we have to bring in the terror squad. Incredible. Now, of course, make no mistake, these guys these guys are also simultaneously Antifa, okay? They're simultaneously agents of the FBI and Antifa at the same time, because initially they were like, oh, it's Antifa that did this. When they were like, oh, this is violent and unacceptable, and that's because Antifa did this, okay? It's Antifa. Except they didn't prosecute the Antifa. They only prosecuted the brave patriots that were political prisoners. And also, it wasn't even violent at all. Okay? It wasn't even violent at all. It was just a peaceful day at the Rotunda.
Move forward in this country.
And Donnie joins us now. What's happening at the...
Aren't we doing hypocrisy baiting? Or is this just entertainment? I don't know. I'm high. No. I come at this with the understanding that virtually no one cares about this. Like, the broad majorities of the American public are not as invested in the story as the way that the media presents it. It's just funny. It's entertainment. Okay? This is one of the least impactful aspects of the Trump administration. Okay? It's one of the least impactful aspects of the Trump administration. And it is, you know, it's not something that I think a lot of people truly care about. But the ones that do really care about it, okay? The ones that care about January 6th really care about it. What I mean by this is, on the Republican side, the ones that are like the immediate family members, with the exception of the Hasanabi head, who has to now go into hiding because his dad is out of prison. The Republicans that really care about it are elated. They're super excited that Trump actually pardoned these guys and emboldened them, okay? On the liberal side, the ones who care about it really care about it as well. But the number of people, especially on the liberal side, that really care about this are obviously super marginal. And even if they say, even if they respond to a poll and they say like, oh, I think this is like really disrespectful or whatever, it ultimately does not matter, because the American government, you know, Democratic control, Republican control, doesn't really matter. The American government doesn't really do things that people have a lot of negative feelings about anyway, or a lot of positive feelings about anyway. Like, the American government doesn't really abide by the democratic wishes of the broad majorities of the public, right?
The jail tonight, what are you saying?
Hey, Anderson, yeah, just in the past few minutes, 3 more January 6ers were just released.
I think it's pretty impactful to essentially give Americans immunity for any crimes in the name of the president, right? No, that will have really important implications down the line, for sure. I think that especially when you factor in like organized militias that have only grown in size and influence in the time frame that these guys went to jail, it definitely is a terrifying precedent later down the line. But that's usually not what people are talking about in this situation. Most people are just looking at this and talking about how hypocritical it is that Trump is doing this, myself included. But make no mistake, I'm just, you know, I'm talking about it from the aspect of like entertainment and hogwatch, and the hypocrisy baiting is not like the major point that I'm trying to address here at all.
From the DC jail here, you can see they're giving interviews to local media and international.
Yeah. I also want to once again address the broader point here, which is that you cannot try to catch Republicans in hypocrisy. It didn't work the last election cycle, and it didn't work the election cycle in the past as well. Like, when Trump was president, this is all liberals did, okay? This is all the hashtag resistance liberalism was about. Oh, now we think it's okay when Trump does it. It's like, yeah, no, they just genuinely don't care, and they genuinely do think it's okay when Trump does it, and they will act like they care when the Democrats actually do something that comes across as hypocritical. It's the strategy. It's the game plan. If anything, I think liberals should learn from that. This is something that I have advocated for quite a bit. Most famously on the Pod Save America interview that I had that went viral in a lot of liberal circles, where I said, I want the Democrats to fight. I want a competent Democratic Party that is willing to fight, okay? Willing to fight for good things, willing to fight for the common good, even if it doesn't come across as inherently popular or immediately popular. And I want them to expend social and political capital on things that actually do materially improve people's lives. Okay? I want them to do that in the same way that Trump does, right? Because Trump does that. This is one of the things that I wouldn't say necessarily admire about Donald Trump, but this is one of the things that I think Donald Trump does very well. If there is something that he can get an easy W off of, okay? If there's something that will return, like if there are a group of people out there that are genuinely passionate about a particular issue, even if it's like, you know, kind of unpopular or whatever in the eyes of the broad majority, like these are low-hanging fruit things for him. He just will go and you know, he'll secure those votes. This is one of those instances. He also will. He also has obviously a tendency to be very telegenic and knows how to draw in a crowd and make people pay attention to him. And he did precisely that with his executive order signatures that he conducted on his first day, right? On the day of the inauguration. Like he knows how to keep people paying attention to what he's doing and present it as a positive. It's one of the, I would say, worst aspects of the Joe Biden administration was the fact that it was led by a guy who was a crippled old man who genuinely couldn't do that. He could not even actively communicate some of the good things that they were doing, albeit marginal, but they still could have done a better job of conveying that message to the public, to be like, see, these are the things that we're doing. Donald Trump is a great marketer. Problem is, the things he's marketing are usually very bad, right? Why is Charlie Kirk such a Trump cock gobbler on Twitter? It's insufferable. There's no analysis, just dick riding at the likes the world has never seen before. I mean, come on, dude. Let him do his victory dances, you know? They won, and he played a big role in it, you know? This guy actively was door knocking in Arizona. He is in Trump's orbit. That's his job. His job is to gobble Trump's penis. So, legitimate question. Legally, doesn't that mean that storming the Capitol should be legal as a takeaway here? No, dude, it doesn't work that way. That is actually what I was trying to explain with the hypocrisy here, which is that both the hypocrisy baiting from liberals don't work, and that Donald Trump actually making it functionally legal to storm the Capitol, that doesn't apply to you, okay? If you tried to do that, you would get killed. Do you understand? If you try to do that, you get killed. When Republicans tried to do that, they basically walked in, cops basically led them in, and got their ass beat in the process. And then Trump came back and pardoned all of them. But that doesn't extend to you, is my point. This is why whenever liberals talk about like, oh, if we violate these norms, then the Republicans will violate it down the line. My response always has been, hello, they already do violate all the norms. What are you talking about? The only precedent that this is setting is that as long as you do it at the behest of Trump, you'll be protected from legal scrutiny. That's it. It doesn't work for you. It doesn't work in the opposite direction. Okay? Yeah, apparently a lot of people are losing their minds over the church service that took place, and I think is really funny, so I will obviously cover that as well. The difference is Democrats will say things like, oh no, Trump revoked XYZ Act, instead of saying Trump had defunded your bridges and roads. Yep.
national press also gathered, but also a lot of MAGA media here. And one person who's just speaking over there, who I think we're showing on screen at the moment, is Jake Lang. He's a prisoner who has really built up a big social media following while he has been in prison over the past while. He's speaking there. So really, you can see just how emboldened these folks are. A lot of them are kind of going off and planning basically MAGA media careers. But what we've also seen here over the past few hours today is different groups and people, obviously big fans of us here, Anderson, groups gathering throughout the day, including the Proud Boys here. So really gives you a sense of the types of folks who are celebrating, at least here at the DC jail.
All right, Joni O'Sullivan, appreciate it.
Many of the president's allies would like to stop talking about the deadly assault on the Capitol, but Trump's sweeping pardons making that difficult, as the president himself was pressed by reporters on the issue when he spoke to them yesterday.
Aren't you sending the message that assaulting officers is okay with these pardons?
No, the opposite. You know, I am the friend of police more than any president that's ever been in this office.
Donald Trump insisting that despite his decision to pardon hundreds of people convicted of violent felonies and a power that he alone wields, insisting he supports law enforcement more than any president ever. When asked about specific cases, including that of Metropolitan Police Officer Michael Fanone, who was attacked and injured while defending the Capitol 4 years ago, the president seemed to be unaware of the details of the convictions that he chose to wipe away.
You would agree that it's never acceptable to assault a police officer,
Sure.
right? So then if I can, among those you pardoned, DJ Rodriguez, he drove a stun gun into the neck of a DC police officer who was abducted by the mob that day. He later confessed on video to the FBI and pleaded guilty for his crimes. Why does he deserve a pardon?
Well, I don't know. Was it a pardon? Because we're looking at commutes and we're looking at pardons. Okay, well, we'll take a look at everything.
Was it a pardon, he asks? Yes, one that only he has the power to deliver. Joining us now, Stephen Collinson, CNN senior politics reporter, Elliot Williams, CNN legal analyst, a former federal prosecutor, Congressman Jake Auchincloss, Democrat of Maryland, Massachusetts, and Kristen Soltis Anderson, CNN political commentator and Republican strategist and pollster. Welcome to all of you. Thank you for being here. Congressman, this, of course, a return to the original first Trump administration, where members of the body in which you serve often repeatedly asked to defend what Donald Trump has done. This, what happened on January 6th, was something that was an absolute cataclysm for the institution. Many of your colleagues were trapped in the House chamber, had to be escorted out by law enforcement as rioters tried to breach the doors. What do you have to say to your colleagues there, as some of them are trying, not all of them are defending what Trump has done, but what goes through your mind when you watch that?
Congressional Republicans are all ducking and dodging, and I never want to hear them say back the blue ever again after providing political cover for this abomination. These are people who violently assaulted officers of the law while trying to insurrect our democracy. It's not just these pardons, by the way. Last Congress, the Republicans tried to defund the FBI. This term, they're seeking to undermine the ATF's ability to regulate ghost guns. These are weapons that can pass through a metal detector without being detected. All of these things make officers of the law less safe and undermine our ability to enforce the law in this country. And yet they try to claim that they're the law and order party. It's no longer supportable.
Dude, this is, you know what this reminds me of? You know what this reminds me of before we move on to some other stuff here? This reminds me of the endless need for the Democratic Party to run patriotic candidates. Okay? Like, this reminds me of when Donald Trump came out and was like, John McCain is a loser. I like my war heroes who weren't captured. And everyone was like, this is surely going to take him down. Last time Trump won the election, if you remember. And the Democrats were like, finally, we can be the patriotic party. Okay? Finally, let's keep running the most boring, annoying, technocratic, smarmy veterans and try to maintain this position that in the South, we are the actual party that cares about patriotism. Look at all our veterans that we're posting. Look at all our veterans that we're putting forward, not realizing that no one cares. Okay? No one cares. And this is what this is what the Democrats have always done. They've always done this. And now they think they're going to be like, well, it's obvious that the Republicans are not the law and order party. It's like, dude, what are you talking about?